Hey everybody, this is Rob Keynes with the Freedom Report. I'm here with a very special first-time guest on the program. It's a good friend of mine, Chris Hough, who's the Global Partner Program Manager for Kinesis. A lot of you will recognize Kinesis as the asset-backed digital currency that I talk about all the time on the channel, with a link below if you guys are interested in signing up. Chris has very generously agreed to hop on the program to talk to us about Kinesis. What is Kinesis? Because I realize a lot of people may not know it. Talk about Kinesis. What is Kinesis? What are some of the use cases? And just to provide some general information to help us out understanding exactly, what the product is and how he can use it. So Chris, thanks for joining the program.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me on. I'm like a lot of your users, I think, right? I kind of maybe discovered gold and silver early on, and I guess in what you call a stacker in my private life. And then I got into crypto, worked at a couple crypto companies, and now I'm over here at Kinesis. And Kinesis is an ideal marriage of the two in my mind. So I think everybody that's listening is going to love it. Hopefully I can kind of get some points across. It is a little bit of a different space for those of you that are strictly into physical gold and silver. But there's room for you here. I think everybody's going to like it when they wrap their heads around it.
I do too. And, I just want a little bit of commentary before we,
Absolutely. Sure.
Go into the questions that we've prepared. And we prepared them because we wanted to make sure we're answering the most common questions. So this comes from the most common questions that we see all the time. I got into Kinesis just because I'm a big gold silver guy, but I'm also a technology guy. I have technology degrees, and the big problem with gold, silver, in my opinion, is it's very hard to put out in the economy. I was just talking about this the other day with a friend of mine. How do we spend silver? How do we spend gold? Like if you have a gold ounce and it goes to 3 or 4 or 5,000, how do you break that off and buy bread with it? How do you buy a car? I mean, our modern economy is not really based upon physical metal exchange. And I would even say, Chris, that the government and the digital economy wants to move past even cash. It wants to move past anything physical and then something where you can exchange online. And I know everybody on the program orders from Amazon. You may order from Walmart online. And so we've all gotten used to that. And that requires a digital equivalent currency that you can pay with. And right now it's credit cards and things like that. But most of those don't. Well, in fact, the only ones that allow you to redeem in gold would be like Kinesis or Glint or those type of companies. So if you're wanting to actually use your gold and silver as money and not just hide it under the mattress and take it out of the system where it can't be money, we need a way for that to kind of transact and to float around and to be part of an ecosystem. And Kinesis really, for the most part, in summaries, built that. They have something that Citizens for Sound Money has coined the term asset-backed digital currency. And in that regard, it's gold and silver. It has an electronic element based on the Stellar blockchain, which allows people to send it digitally. And then all that gold and silver is credited back and forth instantaneously. It's audited, so it's safe. And so you can put gold and silver somewhere, not have to worry about carrying it around. And you can send this currency electronically. And that's really appealing because it's the only way in the modern world you're going to be able to spend your gold and silver.
Yeah, and if I can interject there, I think the light bulb moment for me was when I kind of realized that whether we like it or not, we're now a digital-based society.
That's right.
And the problem becomes, I would love to go back to a physical gold and silver system where we're trading gold and silver for goods. The problem is, the reality with that thought process is you're going to lose some large percent of the population, right? The groceries have to get to the grocery store. The electricity has to make it to your house. All of these things that we're used to, and honestly, now that we survive on, they have to be paid digitally. We can't send physical gold and silver to the utility company. The grocery store can't pay its bills for the groceries in physical gold and silver and be sending, however many ounces they need to their distributors to get the food. So the problem that I came upon in my own mind is that we can't go back to that system. We can, but the world is not going to look in any way, in any fashion, somehow we want it to be in what we're used to. So the only solution is a digitally backed currency that's backed by gold and silver. That's the only way we move forward in a meaningful way and our lives continue to operate in the way we're accustomed.
That's right. I'm in agreement with you on that. We would like the gold and silver. We're gold and silver people, but it's got to be the modern economy, because if we don't, we're going back to the 50s. And do people really want to do that? I don't think they do.
Here's the thing is, though, we're not prepared to go back to the 50s, right? Not everybody has a home garden. The population's much bigger. You know, all these goods and services that you're used to, where are you gonna walk down the street and get 90% of the things that you have in your home? It's not gonna happen. We can't revert like that, because unfortunately, us as humanity, we've evolved past doing and building and creating most of these things on our own. You don't have people in your neighborhood or in your town that can create electronic gadgets or, you know, the modern things that you enjoy. That's part of the problem. And food too. I mean, you don't, maybe some of you have some competent growers in your area, but most of us, that's even a tricky one. Like we don't have home gardens like they used to in the 50s. So you can't really go back to the 50s. You can, but again, we're going to lose a large percent of the population if we made a swift transition to the 50s, let's call it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the older thinking about gold and silver comes from when it was money back in a time when the economy, you know, you could do that back in horse and buggy era, even the early advent of cars. But once we started having transportation systems, and certainly once we industrialized, we needed money to move around faster. The banks came out with the fiat system. We've seen the problems that causes. We go over that every week on the channel. We don't need to go into that for our audience, but we, you know, society needs to come up with its own method of saying, let's have something gold and silver back, which allows us to live in the modern economy. And, you know, if we want to have all of the things that we're going to have today, that's really the answer. If we slow it down and we, you know, I think the perspective of a lot of gold and silver holders is I'm holding it for that rainy day. And I've got that gold and silver later on when we're going to need to spend it. The problem is, if we get to a situation where we're exchanging physical gold and silver, we're in a lot worse shape than we are now. That means maybe the grid is down. That means maybe your food's not coming. Yeah. And even if you have gold and silver, from people I've spoken to, like Fernando has been on my program a couple of times talking about the Argentina currency crisis. Yeah. They weren't spending physical gold and silver. They were bartering and they were trying to find food. And so what they really needed was an exchange system where you could say, you know, I have an apple, good, I'm going to send you some gold and silver, you know, because I have that. Or they were using cash. They were using something that was widely recognized, but nobody had 1 ounce American Gold Eagles. And if you did, you were probably shot walking down the street from a safety perspective. So I think we both agree, you know, we need to bring it to the modern age. And that's really, you know, what Kinesis has done. And that's why, you know, we're partnering with Kinesis, is because we think they're building the system of the future.
Right. I'm right there with you. I mean, at my core, I'm a gold and silver bug, and certainly I have physical, and I'm never getting rid of all of my physical. That's never going to happen. Like the rest of you, right? You can pry it on my cold dead hands. You're not getting your hands on my physical. But this is the situation we find ourselves in. And I think the missing piece, Rob, if I'm being honest, the missing piece is that humanity can come up with its own solution to all the problems that we're facing. Right. And this is the problem, is that we've given these people, you know, whether that's governments or systems or big corporations, we've given them the power to come up with solutions. And of course, those solutions are going to benefit them, right? I mean, duh. Like if I'm asking you for a solution, you're going to design one that benefits you. It would not behoove you to do otherwise, right? So if we can just change the mindset and get humanity to realize we don't need these people, like humanity can decide how we're going to move forward. There are other options out there. We don't have to take choice A, B, or C that all stink. Like, we don't have to do that. We can come up with you know, scenario D, which is better than all of your scenarios. And humanity just has to come together and agree that this is the way we're going. We're going to create our own solution. And guess what? If humanity creates the solution, it's going to benefit humanity, versus if Big Brother invents the solution, it's going to benefit Big Brother. So we just need to get on with it. We need to get on with it and create a solution. That's what Kinesis is doing, right? Yes, Kinesis is a company, and yes, Kinesis needs to make money. But at the end of the day, we are a portion of humanity that realizes we need to come up with a better solution than anything being offered. And that's what we're doing. that's why I'm here. So, we're excited about this.
Yeah. All right. I agree with you. It's a private market solution to what should be a private problem and a private choice about what is money that you want to use in your own life. That's why I like it. Let's jump into the questions, the
Sure.
ones people ask most.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So discuss Kinesis' overall strategy towards creating asset-backed digital currency. Like, what are the key points of Kinesis? What do you want people to know about the system?
So obviously at this point, unless you live under a rock, right? Everybody knows something's wrong, horrendously wrong with the current monetary system, right? It's a debt-based system. It's not good. Again, it wasn't designed with us in mind. So the currency printing, and listen, I call it currency printing, and I try to get away from calling what we use money, because it's not money. Money is gold and silver, and a currency is supposed to represent that, right? So this is currency printing, and it's out of control. And I think everybody knows that, and they know the consequences of what happens when you start debasing your currency, right? So it's no longer been backed by real money. It hasn't been for a long time. So on top of that, I actually think we have some greater issues at stake here with the current monetary system. That's in the way of privacy. And then we've all seen that governments now kind of around the world have just decided they can turn off people's bank accounts. I mean, we've seen it happen in Canada. People are getting debanked in the United States. I imagine in Europe, it's becoming an issue. This is a newfound power that's being wielded against we the people, right? And so the problem is that a currency needs to be trustworthy. And now we've all kind of been proven that that's completely removed within the situation we find ourselves. So that's just where we are. It needs to be trustworthy. And I assume everybody's on the same page. We're losing faith in our currency and our system, on a daily basis. So at its core, right, Kinesis strategy is fairly simple. We aim to solve these problems by creating an alternative monetary system that's trustworthy. And this is done by backing the core currency. Now, in our case, this is a digital currency by gold and silver. Our two coins are called KAU and KAG. Those are our gold and silver tokens, and they're backed 1-to-1 by physical. So the biggest hurdle we have with that is proving that we can be trusted and that we have all the gold and silver to back the currency that we issue, right? That's the same problem that all these places have. It's fractional reserve everything at this point. I believe it happens with stocks. I believe it happens with most allocated bullion exchanges. With the dollar, they don't even pretend anymore. It's just not there, and we all know it's not there, and it's not backed by that. But everything's fractional reserve. So we have to prove that we have the gold and silver we say we do. Now, this is done with regular independent audits of our vaults. It's all there. It's a really fascinating process. To me personally, it's interesting because there's a lot of unique solutions here, right? They actually take a snapshot of the Kinesis blockchain, and then the auditors go in the vaults, they tally up all the ounces that are there, and then what you get is this report where the physical is married to the digital. But it's incredible, and it's down to the thousandth of an ounce of gold and, thousandth of a gram of gold and thousandth of an ounce of silver, because you can break apart our units by thousandth of an ounce of gold and a gram of gold and an ounce of silver. So it's broken down by 1,000. So they marry that all up. So the KAG and KAU that our customers own gives them legal title to the corresponding gold and silver that sits audited and stored within our vaults. Now it's legally in their name. So all that said, there's much more to explore within the Kinesis monetary system, which we call the KMS, but this is the base understanding that creates the foundation of what we do.
Yeah. And Kinesis has had some success. You guys have been around for a while.
Yep.
It's been vetted and proven in real world circumstances. I know why it's hard for me to say this morning. So talk about some of the successes you've had with adoption.
Yeah, sure. In the grand scheme of things, the Kinesis monetary system is just getting started compared to the current monetary system, right, that we all know and understand. So with that as the backdrop, our success has been fantastic. Here's why I say that. You only had one choice, but now you have two choices. You can hold the fiat currency that you know, which is backed by nothing and printed out of thin air, or you can trade that currency in now for the currency that resides within the Kinesis monetary system, which is backed by gold and silver. So our success is in the fact that the old system is falling apart, right? Kinesis, we're taking us back to real money where we should be. So success from that point has been simple. The key is understanding, right? People that understand how the current monetary system works switch to us kind of without hesitation. And the key here is educating others or waiting until they figure it out on their own, which is happening in mass by all accounts that I can see. So it's kind of coming to us, which is fantastic. The problems with the current monetary system are becoming more and more obvious by the day. And as people realize these are problems that can't be ignored, they'll naturally start looking for a solution. And we have it. At Kinesis, we have the solution. There's some other alternatives out there. We're the farthest along. I believe we're the best. That's why I'm here. All the gold and silver's there. It really is a fantastic solution for humanity, which is in a digital age, right?
Yeah. I agree with that. A lot of people have been adopting this. Of course, I'm in the partner program, and I have been a referrer for a couple of years now. And I made that choice even earlier on in Kinesis' journey, because in my opinion, I started seeing the issues with buying and holding forever and sticking it somewhere. And when I became a shop owner and I was doing that, people will buy and it would go into a safe. And then what would happen is when they run into some sort of trouble, they would bring it out and sell it to me. And then I have to do something with it. And so then I go take it to the refiner to melt it, or I try to find a buyer, depending on the product and depending on supply and demand at that point in time, the physical supply and demand. The marketplace was small. It was either a customer that I had, or maybe I would adopt it from my store, or maybe I would take it to melt. And we get different prices on the scenario. So there wasn't a clear cut what I was able to give back to, depending on what avenue we had to go to dispense of it. And it became very local, and because most people aren't spending gold and silver in that way, right. In your local communities, it became hard to find buyers, even with stores, and the stores have to discount it to carry it because they're going to have to resell, and there's carrying costs. So, the thing I like about the Kinesis system is I can go online like any exchange and think about stocks. You can go and sell your stock online. You find, a buyer, you put in your order and you get it. Kinesis offers the same thing. So think about the difference is, let's say I have a stock certificate in the old days and I want to sell my stock of IBM, my one share of IBM. If my neighbor doesn't want it, my neighbor doesn't want it, my neighbor doesn't want it, what do I do? Well, now you can go online and do it that way. And that's essentially what Kinesis has done, is that the physical gold and silver is there, but there's a system which provides a market for people, to be able to spend that. So that's really cool. And it solves the problem of people not being able to find buyers, but also solves the problem if it creates a market, and people are spending it every day. So people can spend that gold and silver on an everyday basis, and then they can rebuy some more gold and silver, and it makes it money again. Which if you just stick it in a vault somewhere, you're basically guaranteeing it can't be money again,
That's true.
Until you take it out.
All right,
another question. Oh, go ahead.
No, I want to make sure people recognize I sought Kinesis out for a very long time to work here because it's the solution we need, right? And we're all in this fight. We really are. And if you don't think that you are, if you don't want to be, you're going to be in trouble, because this is not going to go, again, a way we the people are going to enjoy. So I kind of sought Kinesis out because I saw what they were doing. I understand what we need, and I wanted to get in and help. So
yeah. All right. So next question that we get all the time, and that I always ask my guests when they come on: what are the next steps? So what's Kinesis? What's on the radar for Kinesis? You guys are moving, shaking all the time. You do all sorts of stuff. What's coming up next?
Yeah. So one of the things that people need to look into and understand are the Kinesis yields and the way they work. So this is a big thing that kind of comes across from crypto, but in a nutshell, there's a small fee to interact with the KMS, again, the Kinesis monetary system. So when you send, swap, spend your money, your actual real money, there's a small fee, and it's 0.022% for most transactions. It's different fees for different things, but they're all negligible. And so what happens is we share these fees, we put them in a fee pool, and we share them with people in various ways for their involvement with the KMS. So a great example, an easy one to wrap your head around, right, is what we have called the holder's yield. So this is paid to those people who hold gold or silver. Again, that's the KAU or KAG tokens on our platform. So what this does is it creates a situation that never existed before, where we effectively turn gold and silver into dividend paying assets. I mean, that doesn't exist. Don't take this to the bank, but I don't think that exists anywhere. We certainly created it, and I think we're the still only ones doing it. So now you can hold your gold like you like to do, and it pays you a yield every month just for holding, based on all the fees generated by Kinesis. Now you can get on our website and kind of dig in and see how that works, but that's the basic concept there. So the problem that a lot of people have with gold and silver is that it doesn't do anything, right? And I know that's not true. It protects you from inflation, and it is real money, and it's certainly extremely private and a good way to hold your wealth outside the system. But now it actually does something for those of you who say, you know, gold and silver doesn't really do anything. It generates you a passive income. Like that's it. I mean, no kidding. Try it yourself. You know, store some money on our platform in gold or silver and watch your passive income come in again through the fee generation. So it's fantastic. So now we've turned gold into this kind of revenue generating asset. So there are several other yields that you can explore. I'd like to highlight one of those for you. It's our referral yield. And Rob, you're familiar with this, and I'm sure you've talked about it before, but just kind of to go over it for anybody that's kind of new to all this. The referral yield's simple, right? If you have friends or people in your sphere of influence that you know, and you've joined Kinesis and you enjoy it and you love it and you want to get in this fight with us, you can refer your friends and your family or whoever to Kinesis. And when you do, you get 7.5% of any of the fees they generate for life. So again, it's the same with the holders yield. You hold your gold on platform and you get fees. You get kind of this yield every month. It's the same with the referral yield. The more people you refer and the more volume kind of they generate, you have this yield that comes in every month. It's passive and it lasts forever. So once you understand what sound money is and why it's important, you want to tell your friends anyway, right? So now with Kinesis, we actually incentivize or give you a way to earn passive income for life by doing it. You're going to do it anyway, right? You're going to talk to your friends. If you're like me, you're screaming about gold and silver from the rooftops, right? Now you can kind of do it and position Kinesis in there and get them involved with Kinesis and generate yourself a passive income by doing so. So I would like to point out there are several other yields. I think we're up to 6 or 7. Might be a couple more popping around at some point, but there's some yields there, a bunch of them. And you can head over to our website. And Rob, hopefully you'll have me back. I could see us having another episode on your show where we kind of maybe break down each yield, but hopefully we can do that. It's not kind of the place or time in this video, but there are a whole bunch of other yields that people can head to the website and review for themselves.
Yeah, so essentially what Kinesis is doing, it's making gold and silver kinetic, the basis of the name. Kinetic to move around and just to create movement. You think of athletics, what is that? Kinesiology, it's moving around. So if you take the fiat problem and Gresham's law, fiat is here and everybody's hoarding their gold and silver and everybody's waiting for the big collapse. Well, if you get the big collapse, you may not be, you know, I don't know that we want to go there. We want to have a better alternative monetary system now so that we don't have to go to the collapse. So if everybody's on fiat, you have the collapse, you have 1/2 of 1% or 1% of all people have gold and silver, and they're trying to exchange it. What are you going to exchange it for? I guess someone's cow or someone's car or something, but you may be more worried about what's going on around. And I think what Kinesis is doing is say, let's get the gold and silver moving around now. Let's get that economy going now. Let's get that gold and silver in the system now, so that we have the alternative right now. And so it helps you beat inflation right now. And it helps you essentially create what you want to exist before you need it. Because if you're waiting till you need it, it's too late. And with those yields, it's incentivizing economic activity. Just like if you start a business, you're incentivized by the fact that you're creating something and there will be a profit there. Let's incentivize you to actually, you know, put it in the system or to spend it.
And let's take this a step further. And if anybody pays attention to the current monetary system, what is the biggest kind of signal of how the economy is doing? It's velocity of money. Again, I don't want to call it money, let's call it currency, but the velocity of money. If it doesn't move, it's all dead. It's all dead in the water. So your monetary system has to stimulate velocity in order for it to be a viable system. And so that's really what the yields do. It stimulates activity. And that's kind of one reason why they exist. The other is because Kinesis is a monetary system that pays you to participate. Like, what are you doing? Hop in here, you know?
All right, I think we're going to let's take one more question. I think we'll save some of these for the next time,
Sure.
especially so we can come back next time and actually show people how the system works and get
Sure.
familiar. It's not super complicated.
Sure.
Let's go down. Let's answer the question about what are the 5 main advantages of the system in your eyes. What do you think is the true value of the Kinesis system?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you hop in here, there's so many advantages, but you kind of pigeonholed me into 5. So
Yeah.
number 1 is going to have to be that you have access to this digital currency that you can send to anyone, anywhere, anytime, backed by gold and silver, avoiding the need for banks as an intermediary. You can think of all kinds of things locally, but the big picture is here. It's a global economy. And now you can make payments across borders, send money to your friend in another country, in another currency, and it doesn't matter because gold's a great equalizer. He receives gold in his account and he sells it for his yen or his euros or whatever the case may be. So with gold as the great equalizer, it becomes simple. You're sending him grams of gold. Both of you know how many grams of gold you're sending, and the rest is, up to either party, right? So next up, kind of second here, you can get yourself out of the old system where the dollars are backed by nothing and into a new system that you can trust, where the currency is backed by blockchain technology and gold and silver, right? I mean, that's a huge key. We have an option to opt out of this system. So number 3 is our yield, right? Like I said before, our monetary system, Kinesis, literally pays you to participate. And even more than that, since there's multiple yields, you can actually participate in the way that resonates with you, right? So again, head to our website and check out those yields. 4, huge one, you're in control of your own money, right? No one can just lock you out of your wallet for no reason. It's not going to happen over here at Kinesis. So it's a big one. Last, you can call your gold and silver due at any time, right? It's so funny. At the end of the day, you get all these questions. How do I know my gold and silver is there? How do I know my gold and silver is there? We have these audits. We have all these measures in place. You can go review all that. And if you still ask that question, my answer to you would be redeem it. It's there. You redeem it. So your gold and silver is in our vaults. It's in your name. If you want it, you just say so, and you redeem your tokens for the physical, and it's delivered to your door. It's that easy. So at the end of the day, if you want to make sure we have it, put some money on platform and redeem the physical. It'll show up.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, as a user of the system for 2 years, I've sent it to people. I've had it sent to me. I haven't done a redemption of physical yet, but I've sold it for cash and had it debited back to my bank account. I've tested the system, and if you're on the system, and maybe next time we talk, we'll actually show the system a little bit more in detail. When you're on the system, you have a transaction log, and the great thing about being based on the blockchain, I know a lot of people are worried about the blockchain, but we're not talking about Bitcoin here. We're talking about the ledger system. Blockchain is now so ubiquitous in not only the banking system, it's being used in medicine. I had a career in cybersecurity. It's been used in security. As a former auditor, I love blockchain because it's an immutable record of transactions that's far superior to all the ledgers that we're using now. When I was an auditor, a lot of times I was both a financial, business process, and technology auditor. I did all 3. And sometimes I could not track transactions through the system. They would die. And a lot of times I couldn't validate that transaction for the business was actually there. For example, I'll give you an example. When I used to work for Blockbuster Video way back in the day, inventory was huge. I had, videos and candy and all that stuff in a big warehouse. I could not track that through the system. I could not guarantee that there wasn't theft or loss, or that, somebody didn't, the stores didn't get their inventory. It was a big mess. And if they had had the blockchain back then, it would have made it so easy. You stick it all on the blockchain, you see exactly where it is, you see who has it. You've got your chain of custody, every step of the way where it is. And that's the value of the blockchain. And when you put that on top of gold and silver, you have the value and benefits of gold and silver as the medium of exchange, the store of value, all the things that we see it as money, not currency. But the blockchain allows you to actually use it in a way that's meaningful, in a record that can't be impeached.
Yeah,
and so there's a guarantee there. Nobody can touch those records.
Let's piggyback off your Blockbuster scenario for a minute, right? If a movie, 2-3 movies were lost, no big deal. Let me tell you something. If you're in a monetary system and an ounce or 2 of gold or silver disappears from your wallet, it's going to be an issue. So this is why the blockchain keeps everybody honest. And just one last note real quick before we go, I think people will find this interesting. Being a gold and silver bug and being here at Kinesis, I want to make sure everybody knows I have my money where my mouth is. So working here, you can actually elect to get paid in any of the assets we have on platform. So I get paid in physical silver every month. That's my paycheck. So some of you out there are gonna think that's crazy. Hopefully most of you out there think that's insanely cool. And that's where we're going, right? And I'm now an employee getting paid in physical silver, and it's not gonna be too long before I am paying other people for goods and services in physical silver. Now, I choose silver over gold for my own personal reasons. Certainly you could choose gold, but I think silver is gonna be more explosive. So I'm getting paid in silver. I'm outside the system. I don't have a bank account that can be shut down. And when I wanna turn it into dollars, I just click a couple buttons and it's in my bank account. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer to the question of how do we make gold and silver money again?
Yes, correct.
We understand the storage. If you want to put it at home, if you want to put it in a vault, everybody has their thoughts. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Okay, fine. But that won't power the modern economy. We do need a system of trust, and it's better to put our trust in audited systems from a private company whose sole purpose is there to facilitate this than it is to trust the central banks not to destroy the fiat, which we know 100% failure rate over time. So again, this is a private company doing private systems that is outside the system that allows you a place right now to be outside the system legally. And it has all these guarantees. It has immutable blockchain. It has the physical audits to the blockchain. You can redeem it. You can sell it for cash. I mean, the system is there. And I think, Chris, this is the culmination of the last 20 years of not only technology, but the way that people have been moving in gold and silver. Now we certainly have all these storage companies with debit cards, but they don't have the payment feature, right? And they don't have necessarily the fungible part of it where you can break it down into like thousands of Kinesis stuff. So in Kinesis, you can get as granular as you want, and you have the ability to actually send the money. So you don't have to convert back and forth to fiat if you don't want to. So that, I mean, those are huge advantages. If we actually want to have gold and silver in the economy, this is a real system. And, you know, my role as C4SM, when we're out proposing legislation, we're vendor agnostic. We don't tell the states who to choose. But if I'm looking at all the vendors that could be solutions to having gold and silver money again for the states, Kinesis has got the whole thing already worked out. Whereas some of the other ones are good, but they're not quite, you know, on par there. And it's amazing that in this day and age, we've figured this out. Now, if we can, you know, get it into the states, and if we can get people using it, there it is. There's your gold and silver as money.
Correct.
You don't have to wait for the apocalypse. Why do we want to wait for the apocalypse? We don't want to wait for that.
Well, to be honest with you, right? If we can do this right, a new monetary system like Kinesis will avoid the apocalypse. Why do we need the apocalypse to get us back on a gold and silver standard? We don't have to go. We can skip that part, right? We can skip that chapter where things get horrific and zombies and all that fun stuff, and we can go straight to just using gold and silver again. And to your point, I struggle with that, right? If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And certainly that's a crypto thing that translates into physical, but it's almost like if you do hold it, you don't spend it. So what's the point of that? Like, we need a solution where this stuff can be moved around easily, freely. And so again, I have my stash of physical and it's not going anywhere, but I want to use it as money. And so there's a certain portion of my wealth that I'm going to start using as money through the Kinesis system.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Thank you so much, Chris. I just wanted to end up by a personal note. I'm so invested in gold and silver back in America. Again, it's still part of the Constitution. It's still lawful. We're trying to get, you know, air cover by going to the states and having them explicitly say it. But in all honesty, if you had a gold coin and you wanted to trade it for a chicken, or a silver coin for a chicken, a gold coin for a cart, you can do that. It's allowable as long as you're not claiming to be, you know, as long as you're not trying to imitate U.S. currency, which we're not. We're just saying gold and silver is barterable. And now we have a system where it's electronically barterable. And as we make gold and silver money again, which we're going to do, and that's something that I work on every single day, we have a system in place to do it. And it doesn't exclude using your physical. That's the key. The legislation, the system we're proposing, you can still trade your physical. If you've got coins and bars, you can do it. Now, you're going to pay a lot more in transaction costs as you try to break that up and you have to go through your coin dealer. I know I was one.
And ship it. You might be, you're going to ship physical. Have you looked at the prices to ship anything that weighs over about,
Very
an ounce?
And the insurance on precious metals is so high to ship. I have a shipping account with the largest precious metals insured shipper in the US. And so we have the benefit of volume shipping discounts, and it's still exorbitantly expensive, where I can send it with Kinesis for literally 1,000th of what it would take for me to physically mail it, and it's there. Boom.
Instant.
So we're not saying don't have physical. We're not saying don't barter with your physical. This is another way how you can take some of that physical and you can make it a part of the economy.
So on that note, what's really interesting is I've been thinking about this a lot lately. We always talk about diversifying, not having all your eggs in one basket. Oh, but I love my gold and silver, so I want them all in one basket. Well, this is actually a way to diversify within gold and silver, right? Oh, I have it all at home. There's no third-party risk. Really, what happens if something happens to your home? What happens if you have to flee and it's all in your home and you can't get back to it?
Home invasion risk.
Yeah, home invasion risk. So, or wherever you store it. I mean, people have some really creative storage solutions, and that's great. But what if you don't have access to it for some reason? So what's cool is, why not diversify within gold and silver that you love? So listen, I personally don't have any mining stocks, but I've always find that the private mining companies fairly attractive. So you could diversify to where you have your physical, you have your mining stocks, and you have gold and silver in Kinesis. You're diversified, but it's all within what you love. There's some wisdom to that. I'm telling you, there's some wisdom.
It gives you options. No matter what the scenario, you have options.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, Chris, this has been awesome. I think we'll definitely have you back on again. Part of this is to educate people about Kinesis, but I think the bigger picture, Chris, and why this is valuable, it's educating people about how we make gold and silver money again, which is the big picture. Kinesis just has a system to do that. But the big picture is we need to make gold and silver money again if we want to get out of this inflation-driven collapse scenario we've been stuck in for the last couple of 100 years in the world. And so I appreciate Kinesis for what they've done. I appreciate you coming on. We'll have you back on again. Thanks, everybody, for joining the program. This has been Chris Hough, who, again, is the Global Partner Program Manager for Kinesis. Works with people every day on onboarding Kinesis, make sure that they're happy, customer service, the whole 9 yards. He's on the front line. And I wanted to bring him to you so he could answer the questions that he's getting every day, that I get every day, so that you can understand more about that system.